Hello, this is Carrie from Dark Side of the Library. It is almost autumn. I'm recording this just a couple days before autumn equinox. I am so excited for fall. And since we're entering the spooky season, there's a lot of great dark books coming out. And I'm here to tell you about some of them. This is part two of a two-part episode of Dark Adult Fiction Books coming out September 2024. I have to mention that I have not read any of these books yet. I don't have my hands on them. We would love to get some advanced copies from publishers, but we're just not that big of bloggers yet. So that's okay. This is kind of my shopping list. By the way, we are Amazon affiliates, and you see a QR code on the screen. If you want to scan it with your phone's camera, you can shop our Amazon storefront for these books, and we get a small commission. All right, let's start with the first book of today. I have to go back to my very first slide. We're doing this on video, and I am not showing my face today. I am not fit to be seen because we have a new puppy named Freddie, and he is making us very exhausted, but he's adorable. You'll probably see him on our Instagram stories here at Dark Side of the Library for some behind the scenes content. All right, the first book that I wanted to mention today is The Haunting of Moscow House by Olesya Salnikova Gilmore. I think I just butchered her first name. My apologies. Publisher is Berkley. Came out September 3. It's set in post-revolutionary Russia in 1921. Bolsheviks have taken over Sisters Irina and Lily's ancestral home, unfortunately. Their family must move to the attic, and officials take over the grand rooms downstairs. The sisters' deceased family members begin to awaken and want to import what really happened to them during the revolution. Creepy. And then one of the Bolshevik officials is found dead downstairs. Well, no big loss, but was it from supernatural causes or from a human? That's The Haunting of Moscow House by Olesya Salnikova Gilmore, and it came out on September 3. Next, we have The Hitchcock Hotel. It's by Stephanie Wrobel. Berkley is the publisher again. This one comes out September 24. Alfred Smedel is not your average Hitchcock fan. He's the founder, owner, and manager of the Hitchcock Hotel, a sprawling Victorian house in the White Mountains dedicated to the master of suspense. There, Alfred offers his guests round-the-clock film screenings, movie props and memorabilia in every room, plus, interestingly, an aviary with 50 crows. Not what I would choose to have at my house, but you do you, Alfred. Anyway, to celebrate the hotel's first anniversary, he invites his former best friends from his college film club for a reunion. He hasn't spoken to any of them in 16 years, not after what happened. I don't know what happened. I guess we have to read the book to find out. But who better than them to appreciate Alfred's creation and to help him finish it? After all, no Hitchcock set is complete without a body. This is The Hitchcock Hotel by Stephanie Wrobel, and I definitely am putting it on my shopping list. The next book is a beautiful edition of a horror stories anthology, Shocking Tales of Unspeakable Terror. It looks like it's leather bound. It's one of the Arcturus Gilded classics. The edges of the pages are gilded, and there's gold-colored embossed design on the cover. The stories inside are by William Hope Hodgson, Bram Stoker, M.R. James, my favorite Mary Shelley, E.F. Benson, and Sheridan Le Fanu, all the typical horror compilation authors from the classic days. So that's Horror Stories, Shocking Tales of Unspeakable Terror. The next book I'm very curious about. It's In the Garden of Monsters. It's by Crystal King. The publisher is Mira. It comes out September 24. It's set in Italy in 1948. A beautiful model named Julia can't remember who she is or how she came to live in Rome. She receives an invitation to accompany surrealism artist Salvador Dali, the one and only, to Italy's Garden of Monsters, the Sacro Bosco. She's Dali's muse. She's intrigued by the garden's host, someone named Ignacio. Now, Dali dresses her as Persephone, and insists that eats pomegranate seeds to return to the underworld. And he's kind of having a fantasy about her, and things start getting weird. That's all I can tell you about the Garden of Monsters. I'm intrigued, and I think I'm going to put a library hold on it and just be happy to wait until I can finally get one. Next, we have a book about Jekyll and Hyde. Jekyll and Hyde Consulting Detectives by Tim Major. Titan Books is the publisher. It comes out September 3. When Muriel Carew attends a lavish society party, the last person she expects to bump into is her ex fiance, Henry Jekyll, a man she's not seen for many years. When Jekyll turns out to be investigating a series of missing persons in London, Muriel is intrigued. But Jekyll is not working alone, and if Muriel wants to aid in the investigation, she must work with both Henry and his partner, the monstrous and uncouth Mr. Hyde. This will be a great read for fans of dark mysteries. I'm not really a mystery detective book person, so I'm going to pass, but I'm so glad that this has been written for people who like that sort of thing. The next book I don't know much about. It's called Memory and Bone. It's by J.S. Bailey. It comes out September 24. Jessica is an aspiring YouTuber. Well, aren't we all? But she's also a paranormal investigator. She's also broke, recently unemployed, and then evicted. Her life sucks right now. So she meets a vengeful ghost named Jerry. You don't want to know how she meets him, it involves a cemetery or something. She's excited to get content for her YouTube channel because she can film Jerry. But Jerry has his own agenda. He knows who his killers are and he's out to make them pay. I'm pretty intrigued. This is Memory and Bone by J.S. Bailey. The next book is The Mesmerist. It's by Caroline Woods. The publisher is Doubleday. It came out on September 10. It's set in Minneapolis in 1894, where mesmerism and spiritualism is in vogue, and women are dying under mysterious circumstances. A new arrival, Faith, comes to the Bethany home for unwed mothers, and she refuses to speak. Then we meet Abby, a Quaker, who asks Faith's roommate to trace Faith's path to the home and find out about her backstory. Meanwhile, outside of the home, more women are turning up dead, and rumors swirl around that Faith has mystical powers. I'm very intrigued by this Victorian book set in Minneapolis in 1894. It's called The Mesmerist, and it's by Caroline Woods. Let's take a second to mention that there are affiliate links in the show notes on both YouTube and our blog, and the show notes for podcasts if you wanted to shop for any of these books. Next book is The Midnight Club. It's by Margot Harrison. The publisher is Graydon House. It comes out September 24. It's been 25 years since the Midnight Club last convened. It was a tight-knit group of college friends, and they bonded over late nights at the campus literary magazine. Book nerds love them, but they're also bonded by something darker, the death of their brilliant friend Jeanette during their junior year. Well, decades later, a mysterious invitation has pulled them all back to the pine-shrouded Vermont town where everything began. As the estranged friends gather for a week-long campus reunion, that seems a little bit long to me. I might give my college a day, but anyway, they soon learn that their host has an ulterior motive. She wants them to uncover the truth about the night Jeanette died, and she's provided them with an extraordinary method, a secret substance that helps them not only remember, but relive the past. I'm kind of thinking of the movie Flatliners right now. I don't know, it could just be me. So each one of the friends has something to hide, and the more they question each other, the deeper they dive into their own memories, and the more they understand that nothing they thought they knew about their college years and that fateful night is true. So it seems kind of like a mystery. It's The Midnight Club by Margot Harrison. And our next book, it's called Next Stop. It's by Benjamin Resnick from Avid Reader Press. It comes out September 10, 2024. I think it's post-apocalyptic. Let's see. A black hole suddenly consumes all of Israel, and strange anomalies like it start popping up all over the earth. And this book was written before the current conflict, by the way. I'm going to read from the publisher's notes here because I don't know how to describe this book. So, against a backdrop of anti Semitic paranoia, restrictions on Jewish life, and spasms of violence, Ethan and Ella, who are Jewish citizens of a nameless American city, they meet and they fall in love. Ella's a photojournalist, and she's documenting the changes in daily life in America, particularly among the city's Jewish residents. Some Jews, feeling inexplicably drawn to the unusual events, go underground to an abandoned subway system that seems to connect the entire world. Others leave for the south, forming militias and stockpiling weapons. But most, like Ethan and Ella and her young son Michael, stay and try to make their way amid the hostility and small joys of the ever changing landscape. But then, this is making me have goosebumps. Thousands of commercial planes are sucked from the sky and air travel stops. Kind of like I remember how that happened on September 11th. Borders close. Refugees pour into the capital. Eventually, all Jews in the city are forced to relocate to the Pale, an area sandwiched between a park and a river. There, under the watchful eye of border guards, drones, and robotic dogs, they form a fragile new society. This is kind of fascinating, and I don't think it's political. It's Next Stop by Benjamin Resnick, and it came out September 10. Our next book is a lot lighter. It's The Night Guest. It's by Hildur Knútsdóttir. Nightfire is the publisher. It came out in September 3. I don't know how to pronounce the main character's name. I'm just going to say Iodin is tired all the time. She visits lots of doctors, gets blood tests, but nobody can figure out what's wrong with her. People tell her to eat better, get more sleep, etc. She buys vitamins and she buys a step counting fitness watch to use during the day, but nothing seems to help. Well, one night she happens to fall asleep with the watch on, which she doesn't usually do, and she wakes up to discover it reporting she walked 40,000 steps. What's happening while she's asleep, and why is she starting to wake up every day with increasingly disturbing injuries? This sounds so good. This is The Night Guest by Hildur Knútsdóttir. Our next book is Out of the Drowning Deep. It's by A.C. Wise. Titan Books came out September 3. It's a dark sci-fi fantasy book. There's an obsolete automaton, or I would say robot, Scribe 4. They live in a secluded monastery called the Bastion in an abandoned part of the galaxy. When the visiting pope is found murdered, well, hang on, if the galaxy is abandoned, why would the pope go there? But okay, anyway, the pope's found murdered, and Scribe 4 knows it's just a matter of time before the Sisters of the Drowned Deep rise up to punish the Bastion's residents for the crime. He works with a recovering drug addict turned private investigator and with an angel to solve the crime. I think this is a little too out of my normal preferences. I'm not going to give it a try, but I wanted to let you know about it, those of you that like sci-fi fantasies with a little bit of weird stuff going on, like a robot and an angel working with a detective. It's Out of the Drowning Deep by A.C. Wise. Next, we have Pay the Piper, and it's by George A. Romero. What? The famous horror zombie movie maker. The co-author is Daniel Kraus. The publisher is Union Square and Company, September 3. So this is an unfinished book by zombie director George A. Romero that was discovered in his archive, and they found the writer Daniel Kraus to finish it, which is an honor. It's a supernatural horror tale set in a creepy Louisiana bayou. There's a murderous entity in the swamp called the Piper, and it's taking and killing children. To stop it, the townspeople must confront their ancestors' slave trading sins. Their ancestors were called the Pirates Lafitte. So this is Pay the Piper by George A. Romero, and it came out on September 3. Next, we have a cute light little read called Perfectly Wicked. It's probably a little too silly and romantic for most of us here. It's by Lindsay Lovice or Lovice. Alcove Press is the publisher. It comes out September 17. It's a lighthearted read that's compared to Charmed meets Ghostbusters. So the Celeste family runs an orchard in Maine called Wicked Good Apples. The locals share rumors about it being magical because sometimes you'll see rain on the orchard and only on the orchard in the town during droughts. Like, how does that happen? There's a secret magical ingredient in their cider, but the family business isn't doing well. Enter Connor Grimm, great last name, by the way. He happens to be a paranormal investigator who asked to film an episode of his TV show on the farm. Holly reluctantly allows him to, knowing that the farm needs publicity, but then he starts unearthing secrets about the orchard's history, and Holly starts falling for him. I might puke, but it does sound kind of cute. I might pick up a paperback copy when it comes out later. This is Perfectly Wicked by Lindsay Lovice. Next, back to the creepier stuff, The Shadow Key. This is by Susan Stokes Chapman. The publisher's Harper, and it came out at September 10. Dr. Henry Talbot reluctantly takes a position working for Lord Julian at a secluded estate in Wales. Now, he doesn't speak the language. The villagers are hostile, as villagers in Wales in books are always. And he discovers his predecessor died under peculiar circumstances. He finds an alley in Lynette, Lord Julian's cousin. She's the de facto mistress of the house, and she disdains marriage. She wears men's clothing and chooses to spend most of her time locked away in her room. I assume she's reading books like we all do. She's always suspected that something wasn't quite right in the village. I'm in. I like creepy village books. That's The Shadow Key, and the author is Susan Stokes Chapman. What is next? Sleep Tight. It's by J.H. Markert. Crooked Lane Books is the publisher. It came out September 10. A serial killer used to terrorize the small town of Twisted Tree. He was called Father Silence. 19 bodies were found in his house of horrors, and one survivor, a boy. The boy, later on, was locked away in a home for the criminally insane. Apparently, he started doing things too. So now we're at 20 years later, where Father Silence is finally put to death by capital punishment. But the next morning, the detective who originally arrested him 20 years ago is found dead. Ew. There's a new serial killer calling himself the Outcast. A whole bunch of stuff happens, and he apparently kidnaps the detective's granddaughter. So the detective's daughter, who's its mother, has to go visit the boy who survived to get clues to find her daughter before it's too late. That sounds creepy. That's Sleep Tight, and it is by J.H. Markert. Next, a book that everyone on BookTube, Book Talk, and Bookstagram are talking about, So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison, who wrote Black Sheep last year. The publisher is Berkley. The book came out September 10, and it's been filling my algorithm constantly. I'm definitely going to pick this up. It's a vampire book. So all I can say is Sloane and her best friend Naomi go on a girls' weekend to celebrate Sloane's birthday. Her friend orchestrates a wild night out with total strangers. Ew, I'm hoping they're not swingers, but anyway. The night takes a bloody, seductive turn in this vampire novel that everyone is talking about. It's So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. I'm going to quickly mention Valley, which is the third book in the Galatian trilogy by Stacey McEwen. Publisher is Angry Robot. It comes out September 10. The series continues. The first one was Ledge. The second one was Chasm. This one's Valley. Dawson and her followers are exploring the chasm, and they're trying to find a way home up to the top. Her powers are depleted and food supplies are running low, so people are starting to complain. Above, the queen and the new king still want Dawson's blood and don't want her to get back up there. The book is the conclusion to the trilogy about the kingdom of Tirsah. That's Valley, the Galatian Trilogy, Book 3 by Stacey McEwen. Next, we have another vampire book. I'm sure you're not complaining. It's The Vampire of King Street. It is another mystery book. It's by Asha Grayling, Crooked Lane Books again. It's a gothic mystery set in late 19th century New York. Miss Radhika Dhingra is a new lawyer, and she never would have guessed that her very first client would be a vampire who's accused of murder. In this book, vampires are known and tolerated in society, but they're seen as less than. She gets help from her friends to help him, a journalist and a detective, and they're going to help prove her client's innocence. That's The Vampire of King Street by Asha Grayling. The next book is William by Mason Coyle. It comes out September 10. It's a haunted house story where the haunting is done by an AI robot named William. His creator, Henry, is agoraphobic and doesn't even spend much time with his pregnant wife, Lily. He spends his time in the attic until one day Lily's coworkers show up insisting on touring the house. The house is a smart house and it locks them in with the danger. I'm kind of curious about that. That's William by Mason Coyle, spelled Coile. Next, I can't resist a book with someone holding a pie on the cover. It's We Came to Welcome You, and the pie has tentacles and blood coming out of it. Super cool. So the author is Vincent Tirado. The publisher is William Morrow, and this came out September 3. I'm definitely going to get this book. A married couple of women moves into a creepy gated community called Mainless Grove. Strange things start happening to their house. Doors and stairs appear and disappear. Roots are slowly growing inside the house. Then one of the members of the couple finds a journal from a former resident in the home who went missing a few years ago. And as you can guess, the journal is creepy and leads them to the creepy truth. This is We Came to Welcome You. It is by Vincent Tirado. Our final book today has the most stunning illustrated cover. It's The Witch of Colchis. It's by Rosie Hewitt. The publisher is Sourcebooks Landmark. It's a dark retelling of the Medea story. Medea is a witch shunned by her family. When Jason shows up to find the Golden Fleece with his Argonauts, it's her way to escape her family. There's betrayal, bloodshed, and dark power, everything we love in books like this, retellings of Greek myths. I'm surprised it only came out in paperback, and the cover again is stunning. Be sure to hop over to our YouTube channel to look at the book covers on our video if you're just listening to the podcast. That's The Witch of Colchis. I am picking it up immediately. It came out September 10. The author is Rosie Hewitt. And that concludes our Dark Books podcast for today. This is part 2. There's a QR code on the screen if you'd like to scan it to go shop for these books on our Amazon storefront. Otherwise, I'll chat with you in our next episode, which is upcoming, and I'm going to try to publish it on a Wicked Wednesday or a Freaky Friday. It will be about dark kids books coming out in September 2024. Thanks so much for listening. This is Carrie signing out.